Elementary music teacher friend, you love what you do, but you might feel unappreciated and, in fact, unseen some days. You may even feel like you're on a music teacher island and just want to connect with other music teachers who can relate to both your struggles and wins when it comes to teaching elementary music. I get you and understand completely the feelings you're having. That's why each and every week, the Elementary Music Teacher Podcast will provide you with solo and guest episodes that will help you realize you're not alone in your music teaching journey. Throughout each episode, my goal is for you to be able to walk away with actionable steps and ideas to help you feel like you're ready to take on the new week with whatever challenges may be thrown your way. Hi, I'm your host, Jessica Peresta, and I'm so glad you're here. Whether you're at home, in your car, in the shower, or wherever else you're listening, grab your cup of coffee or whatever other beverage is nearby and listen in to the Elementary Music Teacher Podcast. Well, hey there, and welcome back to the Elementary Music Teacher Podcast. Today's episode is so exciting because I just became a published author. Like, what? I mean, really, honestly, what? I cannot believe I'm even saying that sentence. I have a brand new book that just came out called Make a Note, What You Really Need to Know About Teaching Elementary Music. Now, here's the deal. This book has been on my heart for years. Why? Because I have shared my story before about how, and if you haven't heard it, then I'm going to say it again. But I started out after graduating college at a school in the middle of the school year at an elementary school that hadn't had music for 7 years. Basically built the program from the ground up, and in the process of teaching elementary music, during my first year especially, but even as I kept going, I figured out things that no one had really told me. I realized that there was so much education about teaching, classroom management, and advice about, in mentorship around resources, how to teach what, and all those things, even though I still had to figure all that out, and that is in the book. But there's so much no one told me about all the little things. Just stuff that you just got to figure out on your own. So that is how this book was born. And I am just so excited to have this into the world because I really feel like it's needed. I really feel like music teachers a lot of times, which I do talk about in the book, and I've talked about that on this podcast, and if you're in my Harmony membership, you hear me say this phrase all the time, that music teachers a lot of times feel like you're on a music teacher island all on your own. You feel like you are, first of all, the only music teacher, a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times you're the only elementary music teacher in your school building. So it is hard to have certain conversations with other teachers. And you feel like no one really understands what you do, which, by the way, there is a whole section about others won't understand your job. Okay. But on the flip side of that, you also feel like you're on an island all on your own because you don't really know who to connect with, especially at first. You may not know who to meet in person or online, or how do I ask questions, or you might feel like you're asking the wrong questions, or maybe I should have already known this, or you don't want to be looked at as, not knowing what you're doing if you ask a question. And it's so hard feeling like you're on this little music teacher island. But the other thing is, one of the struggles is when you go from, I'm talking to new teachers right now, when you go from student teaching to your own classroom, what ends up happening is you are in charge at that point. That is your classroom. And you're kind of left on your own. Yes, you have a mentor teacher. Yes, there's mentorship opportunities. And yes, there's amazing blogs and podcasts. And one of the reasons I started this podcast was for that reason. But at the same time, it's confusing knowing what to do. And you feel like a lot of the teachers in your school you cannot ask questions to. So what I'm going to do is I want to read the intro to the book, and then I'm going to read you 3 sections from the chapter 2, which is all about what you need to know about feelings. And this book, like I said, it took me 6 months to outline it, write it, edit it, and get it out into the world. And I cannot wait. The ebook version is on F Flat Books with Sarah Goulash. Just type in F Flat Books and the ebook version is there. And then you can also get the paper version, the book version on Amazon. And you can head to my website, thedomesticmusician.com, and click on the book tab, and you will see links to both of those places. But the book, before I read the intro to you, and then the 3 sections I talked about, I want to talk about what is included in it. So, chapter 1 is all about what you need to know about life. Things like exhaustion you feel, how you're going to get sick, balancing your work and home life, how you're going to have a family one day. Nobody really talks about that and what to do when that happens, and how others won't understand your job. Chapter 2 is all about what you need to know about feelings. We talk about that music teacher island, relationships, how to find an online and in-person community, why you get asked if you need a degree to teach music. I was asked that so many times. Some students won't like music class. Opinions are going to be thrown your way. How it's okay to cry. There's days you want to quit and give up, and you're not a robot, so feel those feelings. Those are the 3 sections I'm going to read today. What you need to know about the first year is chapter 3. So first year teachers, this is all for you. But you know what? Even if you're listening to this and you're not a first year teacher, or you're reading the book and you're not a first year teacher, this chapter will help you as well, because it talks about, yes, your first year's hard. What to do before you step into your classroom, how to not compare yourself to the teacher down the street, about your mentor teacher. They may not know about music. You're going to probably have to spend some of your own money. Juggling is part of your job and feeling judged for being the new teacher. Chapter 4 is about what you need to know about teaching music. So there's going to be tons of interruptions, identifying your teaching style, choosing songs and how to do that, how to make your classroom inclusive, creating a diverse classroom environment, putting on a musical performance, takes time to build your music program, lesson planning, and how it's not always easy, and the teaching the lessons part doesn't go as planned sometimes. And music education will continue changing every year. Chapter 5 is what you need to know about classroom management. There's a lot more to it than just managing, setting up your classroom, procedures, how to keep class time moving. These are all things no one told me about, you guys. And then give it time and don't give up. How to change things up every year if you want to, and building a relationship with your students. And chapter 6 is what you need to know about school dynamics. So get why you need to know this secretary and janitor, relationships with other teachers, getting to know your team, parent communication, how every school dynamic is different, and advocating for your music program and what that looks like. So those are all the sections. So without further ado, I want to read to you the intro, and then I'm going to read to you 3 sections from chapter 2. So the intro is this. In college, I completed every credit needed to earn my bachelor's of music education. After finishing my student teaching placement, I thought I felt prepared for teaching music in a school setting. Upon graduating in December, I fully planned to get a substitute teaching position until I could get a teaching job that following fall. Well, lo and behold, one music teaching position was available, but there hadn't been a music program there for 7 years. Yes, 7 full years. I quickly realized there were several things my instructors and mentors hadn't told me about teaching in my own classroom. Nobody told me that some days, instead of teaching music, I would be dealing with behavior issues all day long. They didn't tell me I would almost daily feel like I was going to pee my pants from not being able to go to the bathroom. I definitely wasn't prepared for the attitudes and odors and bodily fluids like pee that would end up on my floor coming into my door each day. Going from a student teaching placement to being the one and only teacher in my new classroom were 2 totally different things. To say I felt overwhelmed was an understatement. Have you heard the expression fish out of water? Well, I felt more like a whale out of the ocean. It was like, here's your comfortable life, and you're going to trade it for a life of crying, doubting yourself, and nervousness, all balled up with, but I love these students of mine so dang much. When you're a music teacher, a lot of times you feel like you're on an island all on your own. You're not quite sure where to turn to ask all the questions you have, so you just kind of slowly figure things out for yourself. But you also turn to Google and type in things like how to teach elementary music and hope any helpful answer will pop up on your screen. If you're feeling overwhelmed, you're not alone. The training you receive in college teaches you the mechanics of what you really need to know when you become an elementary music teacher. You learn all about teaching philosophies and how to teach students, but you really don't quite figure it out until you're thrown into your classroom and expected to just do it. All of a sudden, you're viewed as the expert, and you quickly realize you're the one responsible for planning lessons and teaching music to multiple classes. Tag, you're it. Even if you're not ready, this is your classroom. Through the process of reading the pages in this book, my hope is that you'll realize you're not alone in the way you might be feeling. Being a music teacher, although so very rewarding, is also extremely hard. There are so many things you aren't quite prepared for, and you may want to ask other music teachers if they're thinking, experiencing, or feeling the same way you are, but don't want to feel judged. Well, I'm here to tell you that I get you. The other music teachers reading this book get you. You have a group of elementary music teachers all over the world who love you, support you, and can relate to exactly what you're going through. In this book, my goal is for you to truly realize that. From reading these pages, I hope you are able to feel a bit more confident in this role you've taken on as a music teacher. You're amazing, and this calling has been set in front of you for a reason. So take a deep breath and know that you can do this. You've been assigned to your classroom and to your students for a reason. When you feel burnt out or overwhelmed, go back to your why you became a music teacher in the first place. Then, come back to this book as much as you need to so you can remind yourself that you can do this. Make note of all you've accomplished already and what you plan to accomplish moving forward in the future with your students. Make notes while you're reading and then continue making beautiful notes with your students in music. So that's the intro, and I'm sharing a little bit of my heart today with you, and I just kind of wanted to give you a glimpse into this book. And I know some authors don't do this. I know a lot of times it's just like, here's my book, buy it. But I'm very vulnerable, and I've always been very honest with my audience. And I want you guys to know my heart behind writing this book and to share the intro with you and to share a little bit of a snippet of some of the sections in the book with you as well. So you can get an idea of what it's like. And I hope that you reading this book get so much from it. I truly want everyone reading this to really know that you're not alone, and that if you're struggling with feeling a certain way, from reading the pages of this book, to know a little bit about my story, but also to fill you in on what I wish others had told me so you can move forward successfully as a music teacher. So I want to also go ahead and continue going and read to you some sections from the book that will obviously help you as well. And I picked sections that I really thought you would find beneficial, but sections that were kind of things that nobody told me about feeling vulnerable and feeling some feelings that I didn't know if I was the only one feeling this way. So I just said the word feelings a lot of times too. So with that said, let me read to you 3 sections from chapter 2. And chapter 2 is called What You Need to Know About Feelings. So these are things I kind of wish somebody had told me about feelings. And I always wondered if I was the only one feeling this way. So with that said, I'm going to read you 3 sections right now. The first section of chapter 2 that I want to read you is called It's All Right to Cry. I wish I could count on my fingers the number of times I left school crying. There were certain days or even weeks that things just plain sucked. It felt like I was dealing with so many things besides just teaching. And it was hard. I would cry leaving school over several different things. Sometimes it was because of what was going on in the personal lives of some of my students. Other times it was because a lesson plan bombed. Then there were times I just felt frustrated for various things that had gone on during the day. A teacher who tells you they've never cried over a botched lesson, a hard day, or an exhausting week isn't telling you the truth. I know teachers who have taught for 25 years who still have hard days. Crying is actually a good thing. Sometimes a good cry is all you need to release those emotions you've held on to all day. There are days you don't feel like going to school for one reason or another. Maybe you're dealing with something hard in your personal life. Maybe last week was hard, so the thought of going back for a new week is the last thing you want to do. Maybe teaching music is way harder than you thought it would be, and you're just ready to wave the white flag. I dealt with every single one of these situations, and I've cried many times about these things as well. Here's the kicker. I'm not a crier. Yes, I'm serious. I've never been a very emotional person, but I've cried several times over being a music teacher. On the flip side of things, you've also cried about positive things. The first time you see that light bulb moment in a student you've been hoping to reach will make you cry. When a performance you've been working so hard on for months on end comes together, it will make you cry. When 70 plus students are singing in unison at once from the stage, you'll definitely tear up. There are so many hard things that make you cry in your car, but there are also so many positive things that bring you tears of joy as well. The next section is called There Are Days You Want to Give Up. There may be days you want to just throw the towel in. There are moments when you wonder if this is really what you signed up for. It seems much harder than you thought it would be when you decided to become a music teacher. Please realize these thoughts and emotions are completely normal. Think about any other job you've had before. Did you like every single second of every day you were there? I mean, maybe. But for me, I've been a camp counselor, worked as a car hop at Sonic, worked at Dillard's, and worked in the library on my college campus. I've also had several piano accompanist jobs, taught private piano lessons, and of course, taught elementary music. There were good and bad days in each of these jobs. Some days you don't want to teach music because of the way the kids are treating you. Some days you just wake up with a case of the I don't want us. Some days are just so hard that you don't know if you can do it anymore. Just like I can guarantee you'll continue to have hard days, I also know there will keep being amazing days too. Stick it out on those tough days. The good truly does outweigh the bad, and you'll keep finding those moments of joy we talked about earlier. Remember that you became a music teacher for a reason. You could have been anything else in the whole world, but you became a music teacher. On the days you feel like throwing up the peace sign and walking out, think about your why. And the last section I want to read you is called Feel Those Feelings. I've already talked about it being okay to cry, but what about the other gamut of emotions you feel from time to time? You're not a robot, but are a human being. Feeling emotions is not only normal, but important. There are hard days, good days, sad days, happy days, and everything in between. In order to break down that imaginary wall between you and your students, show your human side from time to time. No, I'm not meaning to just stand in front of them and be a blubbering mess while crying hysterically. But if you do that, that's okay. I've shown kids my emotions. Then when doing that, they feel permission to show theirs. They see you as human and relatable and feel comfortable talking to you about the hard things that might be going on with them. Unexpected things happen in life outside the school walls. There might be a sudden death in the family, or you may go into labor while leaving school, speaking from experience here. Or there may be a tragedy in your city or school. There are days that are difficult to show up to school to teach because something hard happened the night before or that morning. This might be something like knowing your child is sick and a grandparent is staying home with them so you can work. Then you kind of feel like you're just going through the motions that day because your heart is somewhere else. Feel those feelings. Let yourself be human. Go into the bathroom between classes on those days and pray, take a moment of silence, or get your thoughts together. So those are just 3 snippets from my book. There are a whole lot more sections that you will definitely get a lot from, but I wanted to just come on here today and read a snippet of my book for you so you can kind of get a feel for what it's like. But also, I picked 3 sections that I really hope will encourage you and to let you know that you're not alone in feeling the way you might be feeling, and that hard days will come, but that you can definitely get through them. So like I said, if you are interested in checking out the book or just want to read more about it, head to my website, thedomesticmusician.com, and click on the book tab, or just head to the show notes and you'll see a link there as well. So with that said, you guys have an amazing week, and I will be back on here soon. Well, hey there. Thank you so much for listening into the Elementary Music Teacher Podcast. There is an exclusive Facebook group just for listeners of this podcast and any elementary music teacher called the Elementary Music Teacher Community Facebook group. Come on over and join us there, where we have conversations around the podcast episodes and encourage each other each and every week. And also head to my website, thedomesticmusician.com. I have some free resources there that you can download to help you gain traction in your classroom today today, as well as the blog and the membership site and all kinds of other goodies to help you keep going in your music teaching journey. I cannot wait to keep connecting with you and encouraging you and spurring you on in your journey of teaching elementary music. Hang in there, have an amazing week, and I will see you soon.